Perfect. All right, let's rock and roll. Welcome everybody to our weekly Wednesday webinar for Body Electric. We have a special guest tonight. I'm not going to waste any time on our usual team announcements or anything like that. If you guys need to know any of our announcements, you can check out our weekly announcements feature on our website. But tonight we have a special guest. We have the author of Miracle Morning for Network Marketers, Pat Petrini. He's coming to us from his home, I believe, in Arizona, and he's going to talk to us tonight about really whatever he feels like talking to us about. I'm really cool with whatever he wants to talk about. So I know everybody that's on here has read Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. It's a definite must read. It's on our must read list for our personal development for our team. So I know we're familiar, but I'm excited to hear from you and hear what you have to share. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. We are recording. So if you guys have any questions, just please save them for the end, if that's okay, just to make it easier on the audio. But I will let you take it away.
Awesome. Well, Jenny, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It means a lot being able to jump on the phone with your team because I know I know how protective I am of my team, and I know. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody here. Yeah, I'm just sitting here in my home in Phoenix. I'm just sitting here locked away in my bedroom right now because my wife's family just flew into town, and so they've taken over the rest of the house. So I'm with you guys, and excited to be here. So Jenny said that everybody's pretty familiar with Miracle Morning. Let me say a couple of things on it, just in case if there's anybody here that maybe is new to the concept or anything. And then if everybody's pretty familiar, then I would really love to make this as interactive as possible. I would love to be able to answer if there's questions that you guys have. If you're already familiar with the concept and maybe you're implementing it and you're kind of like have some questions on what about this, what about this, what about that, I would love to dig into any of that kind of stuff. So I was in Chicago, the Chicago area just last week with Hal Elrod, the original author of the Miracle Morning. We were doing a Miracle Morning Mastery event, and it was basically talking about helping people that are already implementers of the concept of the Miracle Morning and helping them to go deeper with the visualization aspect, with the affirmation aspect, with the every aspect of it, and how to go further and apply it specifically. If anybody has questions along those lines, when we get to there, I'd be happy to discuss that. For anybody that is on here that is possibly new to the concept of the Miracle Morning, first off, if you want to get 2 free chapters of the book so you can kind of like wet your whistle a little bit, kind of see what it's all about, like the Miracle Morning, TMM for networkmarketers.com, and you can get 2 free chapters right there. And the basic concept is, so Hal Elrod, who's a longtime friend of mine, he wrote the book, The Miracle Morning, and it was a book that had a very humble launch, self-published, didn't have a big launch at the beginning, not a lot of endorsements or anything like that. It just is very, very humbly launched. But it is something that has had it immediately started impacting people in such a way that people started getting on YouTube and posting their video testimonials, and it kind of just took on this organic viral nature. And now the Miracle Morning has right now, I can't remember what Hal was telling me the other day, but they've got like 27 different contracts in 27 different countries that it's going to right now. And it's just has grown organically all over the place. And because it's such a simple little concept that is relatively easy to do, that has very significant results in people very quickly, noticeable, significant time. And so the basic idea is just that if you're willing to wake up a little bit earlier, if there's a hard deadline on when you've got to wake up right now, whether that be because of a job or because of kids or whatever else might be, if you're willing to just get up a little bit earlier, or if you don't have a hard deadline, then it doesn't matter. You can push everything else a little bit later, right? But whatever it is, when you're able to wake up and prioritize a certain few things first, is doing some of these things that are important but not necessarily urgent, the things that will have the biggest impact on who you are a year from now or 5 years from now. And those are things like in the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey distinguishes between the things that are important versus the things that are urgent. So important meaning the things that are going to take you towards your long-term goals, and urgent meaning the things that have set deadlines. So we tend to be really good at the things that are urgent, but we tend to really suck at the things that are important. So what I mean by that is like reading, exercising, journaling, affirmations. These are things that we all know we should be exercising every day, but many of us don't get it done. And we wake up, we open up our phone, we check our inbox, we check our Facebook notifications, and instantly, within the first 15 seconds of us waking up, we've allowed the world's problems to fall upon us. When you check your inbox, you've allowed everybody else's problems to suddenly become your problem for the day. And now your mind starts going into, well, shoot, I got this email from so-and-so. I need to respond to that. I need to hurry up and get them this document. I need them to get them this. Or I just saw this, and suddenly that becomes your thing. Instead of waking up and knocking out the things that are important first, instead of those urgent things, reading, exercising, the things that when done every day are the things that will literally transform who you will be a year from now or 5 years from now, is going to be the exercising, the reading, the journaling, the affirmations, the visualizations, that kind of stuff. That's going to be the stuff that truly transforms who you are. But our natural instinct is to allow that short-term stuff to take priority, for us to wake up, look at our phone, and then let emergencies rule our day. So the Miracle Morning is just waking up, not looking at your phone, and instead doing these core sets of skills or tasks or whatever you want to call it that will most enrich you as a person, and doing those first, whether you do them for 6 minutes or for 60 minutes, or like my Miracle Morning. I don't always do a full Miracle Morning, but my Miracle Morning is like a 3-hour routine now. And so sometimes I do an abbreviated one, and sometimes I do the full thing. It depends on kind of what the day is. But it doesn't matter, like whatever your Miracle Morning is, and it's great to start small too. Like you don't need to start with like a full hour or whatever. Start small and just do little things and make progress, and then kind of let it expand as you want to. But what I just would say is that what I've experienced is this feeling of when you wake up, you knock out these things that you've decided are important to you, and it's just one thing you're checking off your list. I wake up and I do my Miracle Morning. It's not like I wake up and I do 15 other things first. It feels like it's just one thing because it's my Miracle Morning that encompasses a lot of things. But it feels like I'm just checking one item off the list. But whether I do a shorter one, it's like a half hour, or I do like my full 3-hour Miracle Morning, regardless, once you're done with it, you feel like you've really knocked some important stuff off of the list for the day. And so what that does for your stress level, for your just sense of whatever you want to call it, centeredness or happiness or anything else, I feel like the days that I do my Miracle Morning first, I feel like the neurochemistry in my brain is totally different for the rest of the day than the days that I don't do my Miracle Morning. And you just feel so much better about everything you have going on. It just changes the way that you approach everything. So this has been so universal that's why the Miracle Morning concept has really just taken off so virally in the way that it has. So there's nothing necessarily that needs to be part of your Miracle Morning. It's your Miracle Morning. It's whatever you want. So we have some suggestions that we put in the book, and we call them the SAVERS. Is a nice little acronym that's easier to remember. So the first S is silence, which could be meditation, it could be prayer, it could be anything along those lines, or it could just be sitting in silence, whatever that means for you. The A is for affirmations. Is with the way I use affirmations is to try to remind myself of the things that I want to incorporate into my personality, into the way that I deal with other people, into my outlook on life. For me, affirmations are like reminders. Like sometimes you see a great quote and you're like, gosh, that's a really good quote. But then what do you do with it? Like if you just let time pass, it's just one great quote that you saw in your news feed, a week ago, and it comes and goes. So for me, like if there's a really great quote that's like, man, I want to incorporate that into who I am, I take that quote and I put it into my affirmations. And so then every morning I read that and I remind myself of that quote. So it's not just something that was in passing, but it's something that I try to remind myself until it gets boring. Eventually your affirmations get boring and then you gotta trade them out and whatever, but until it becomes so normal that it's almost boring to you, that means that it's kind of really gotten ingrained and you can kind of move on to some other stuff. That's kind of how I use the affirmations. Visualizations, we could go really deep on that, but that's what the V is for. And then the E is for exercise, which again could be, a lot of people do yoga, a lot of people go on a jog in the morning. It could be whatever it is to you. R is for reading, which could also be audiobooks, could be is just that you're putting good stuff in your head, being the point. And then the second S is for scribing or journaling. What's going on in your life, the way you feel about them, helping us to be emotionally intelligent about our and then what else was I going to say on journaling? Forget. There's one other point I was going to mention, but anyway, those are kind of like the savers. We use that as an acronym, as a guide for some of the things you might incorporate into your miracle morning. But it's certainly, again, it's your miracle morning. Part of my miracle morning is I jump on my drum set for 10 or 15 minutes and just screw around on that. It could be anything that is just something that you want to be part of you on a daily basis. For a while, I was working on Spanish. You could download this app called Duolingo that's great for working on a foreign language. And so for a while, working on my Spanish was part of my miracle morning. So it could be anything like that you just want to incorporate into your daily routine, make it part of your miracle morning, get your miracle morning done first thing you wake up every day, and then move on with all the other stuff that you've got from your day. So that's the basic concept. I'd love to take a second to see if there's any questions that anybody has, or we could dive into, like, if anybody would like some specific examples, like how could I use affirmations or visualization or this or that or whatever to apply, how does that apply to network marketing? Any questions like that, but would love to dive into if I can help anybody, or if anybody wants to share even just results they've had, anything like that would be great. I'm looking at the chat here. Oh, okay. I don't see any questions in there yet.
Yeah, you guys feel free to open up and ask questions if you have any. I know a lot of you kind of already have, a few of you I know at least already have a miracle morning in place, sort of a routine that's working for you. I know Katie Kelly is like she's our spokesperson for Miracle Morning. She led a webinar a month ago on this. So
awesome.
So I know we have some people that are kind of already faithful followers of it, but I know others it's kind of a new concept, or maybe even some light on how it can apply to network marketing. Because a lot of us, there are a few
for sure
are full-time network marketers, but most of us, are working full-time jobs. So we'd love
right.
whatever feedback you have on that, for sure.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I think. So if we take like those savers as an example, the things that I think are most easily adjustable to kind of apply to network marketing specifically are like maybe affirmations and visualization, because so again, like affirmations, and by the way, like I used, Hal asked me to write this book, and then before doing so, I kind of had to dive down the miracle morning rabbit hole myself and like figure out, believe in all this stuff, and for me, I was kind of like affirmations, visualizations. I was like a little skeptical because I didn't understand how it worked. It sounded a little too new agey to me, like the whole. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I just didn't. I was like, I'm not so sure on this whole affirmations and visualization thing. But now, having really done it and also dove a lot more into the research behind them, I'm a total believer in affirmations and visualization. And again, so like affirmations are kind of like the way that I use them. And there's a lot of different ideas on affirmations out there. So all I can really say is how I use them, how they make sense to me. And it's a reminder to me of how I want to be. So So like when that comes to network marketing, it's like one of the affirmations that's in my part of my affirmations every morning is that I'm fearfully authentic with everybody that I interact with, and so I put fearfully so instead of fearlessly, because that's a reminder to me that the idea of getting rid of fear is that like bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is moving forward in spite of fear, right? So the goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to be able to overcome fear. And so when in my affirmations, the fact that it says I'm fearfully authentic with everybody I interact with is that my goal is to try to be authentic with everybody that I interact with. But knowing that fear is a part of that, of worrying about what do they think of me? What do they think of this? Like what if they don't like what if I kind of pitch them a little bit and they reject me? Like, it's fearfully authentic, being okay that there's going to be fear involved, but you're still being authentic anyway. So that's just what, it's a reminder to me of how I want to try to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. And then I also say that my goal is to try to leave people better than I found them. So whether it's a prospect or anything else, my hope is that when I close, they got off the phone feeling like even if no business got done, they shot me down, they shot down my opportunity, they shot down my product. Hope able to compliment them sincerely in some way. I was able to make them feel good about themselves or whatever, is just that idea of trying to leave people better than you found them. And again, regardless of whether you made a sale, you got a recruit, you got a new customer or not, is still trying to have that idea of leaving people better than you found them. So that's the way that I use affirmations, is just it's a reminder to myself of how I want to be like throughout the day, how I want to behave, how I want to interact with others, things that I want to be keeping in the forefront of my mind, of things that I believe are important, stuff like that. So you can really kind of shape that to think about like what are the challenges maybe that you're running into in your interactions with people from a business standpoint. What are the things that you're good at? What are the things that you feel like you can work on? And what are maybe some affirmations that you can include in there on a daily basis that might remind you of what you need to work on? And it's a careful balance, because they certainly, you don't want your affirmations to be like negative, like critical of yourself. I'm terrible at this, I need to be better. Like, that's a terrible affirmation, you know? like it needs to be like, what do you know you're capable of, even if you don't do it most of the time, but you know you do it sometimes? What do you know you're capable of? And just be like, that's how I try to be all the time, sort of, if that makes sense, right? Like, I know sometimes I've done this really well, and you kind of try to put that into words, whatever that is. There's sometimes when I present where I have this deep sense of confidence, and I'm able to really see myself as an expert, and I'm able to present really authentically and confidently, and that's how I picture my presentations going from now on, is like that. So maybe that's one of your affirmations, is I present authentically and confidently. You know, I take 5 minutes before I do a presentation to remind myself that I'm an expert on my product and my opportunity. You know, anything like that. Like one of the things that Hal says is he doesn't really believe in, if you're not a millionaire, he doesn't believe in doing affirmations that say, I'm a millionaire, I own 100 houses, I am at the top of my compensation plan, because he thinks that your subconscious just rejects that stuff as falsehoods. Like, it doesn't sink in. So, and I think that's a good way to kind of think about it, is you're not just trying to like throw falsehoods at your brain thinking that you're going to trick yourself, but it's trying to like capture your best moments. What are best? So you know that that's what you're capable of, and then put that into words, and remember and remind yourself that that's what you're trying to do. Just in the exception, we're trying to work towards making that the rule. And so affirmations are great at doing that, because you know you're capable of it. It's just helping you to take it to. And then with visualizations, so visualizations, again, another thing that I was very skeptical of until I finally like saw the research and everything, and that all, you know, nearly almost all the Olympic athletes and athletes at any top level, hedge fund traders, like all kinds of different stuff. They're all using visualization because the evidence is in that when the brain visualizes something, there's not very much more benefit to actually doing something than there is to visualizing it. Meaning that like a visualization is an actual practice session. So like weightlifters, professional weightlifters can actually for 2 weeks can just sit and visualize doing the lifts that they would normally do, and they will build muscle mass from doing that. It just pure visualization, because the brain sees it as hardly any different than the actual act. So it creates the same hormonal responses that lead to building muscle mass and everything else that goes on. So it's no different than for us with prospecting, presenting, following up with people, getting your new marketers started. All those the basic fundamental skills that go into building a networking business, those are all things that visualization can be a very real practice session for you. So if you've got a presentation, whether it's like a webinar you're doing or you're doing a home event or something like that, you've got a presentation tonight. If you were to take the time in your miracle morning to sit down and for 10 minutes actually visualize yourself giving that presentation, and you visualize it as vividly as you can and as much detail as you possibly can, because the more vivid, the more real, and the more real, the more it is an actual practice session for you. So if you just sit down and visualize it and actually see yourself getting up and opening up the presentation, with whatever, maybe an anecdote that you like to tell at the beginning to loosen up the crowd or whatever, and then moving on to your presentation and kind of going through the different slides or whatever it is that you're doing, if you visualize yourself confidently doing this and doing this in the way that you want to do it, or emulating somebody from your team, an upline member or another leader in the company that you think does such a great presentation, and you're visualizing yourself emulating the things that they do great about their presentation, that's an actual practice session. Like that's an actual rehearsal that you're getting in, and you're because of that visualization. So any of those things, this idea of visualization becomes a very real way to improve any type of skills that you're trying to work on, in a way to do it in a risk-free manner, to be able to sit down and do it just in your own head instead of having prospects in front of you or something like that. So very powerful. You just have to kind of look at the areas that you feel like you need to improve on, from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, whatever, and then figure out how you can take those things and fit them into your affirmations or your visualizations or any other aspect of your miracle morning. But I think the results are in on all of this. We've had so many people that have done it and that have felt that they've changed their business as a result of implementing these things. Not even talking about changing their lives, their relationships that they're in, all kinds of other aspects, but certainly very applicable to all of our businesses. So, what else? Any other questions that may have popped up while we were diving into any of that stuff? Or Jenny, anything else that you'd like me to dive into in more detail? I'm happy to discuss anything.
Sure. I have a couple questions for you. As far as the journaling thing is concerned, I'd like to know, assuming, are you still in network marketing now, I assume?
I'm kind of like, I'm not with any one company right now. I do some consulting. I'm sure I'll probably be back in a network marketing company at some point, but I haven't found I was with a company helping them to launch, and my vision kind of separated from that of the founders, and I decided to step away, and I haven't quite found my home since then. So network marketing is background for most of the last 15 years, but I'm actually not with any particular company at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. So when regardless of whether you are or not, I'm assuming you're still like following the savers and that kind of thing. So with the journal, what types of things do you journal, and what would you recommend a network marketer journal?
Yeah, great question. So I think that what types of things that I find myself mostly journaling, it's kind of across the board right now, in that I try to incorporate things that I'm grateful for. You know, I kind of use my journal as like as an exercise of a gratitude exercise. So I try to incorporate things like that, things and people that I'm grateful for. There's also a journal called the 5-Minute Journal that is really popular that people might like. If you need like kind of a starter, the 5-Minute Journal, it's all structured out. And so in 5 minutes, it kind of asks you things to fill in out. One of those things is like, give 3 things that you're grateful for. And then it'll ask you a few other questions. So it's 1 page every day, and it takes really quick. But it's a great way to kind of start out. But I like that. So like using it as a gratitude kind of exercise. I also just, anytime that I'm feeling strongly one way about anything, which might be like, it might be like frustration with myself, you know, like I'm maybe not feeling like I am doing as I should be like this week or something like that. Like I've kind of been not totally hitting on all gears or something, and I'll journal about that. Or you know, sometimes like you get in an argument with somebody, your spouse or something like that, right? And you might be like journaling on that, like just any emotional, any strong emotions that I end up running into, I try to journal about them when I can, to try to get more awareness of like, what was the root of that emotion? Like, what's the circumstances that led to this? What's the outcome? Stuff like that. Emotional awareness, emotional intelligence is something I'm working on, and journaling I think is really helpful for that. The other thing that I would say though, from as far as relating that to our business, to network marketing, is I think really using your journal as an opportunity to write down, what did you do good at, what did you not do good at, and what are you going to do better next time. So on, you know, your 3-way phone calls, on your coffee meeting that you had earlier today, on your webinar that you did, on whatever it is, like whatever, where you're in front of prospects, you know, a home party where you're presenting or whatever, is come home and do your journal that night, or do it the next morning, you know, whenever's fresh in your head. But jot down, what did I do good? What am I happy about with this particular presentation or this interaction with somebody or whatever it was? What do I think I could have done better on? And then how am I going to try to do this different next time? And just trying to use your journal as that. I think that if you're just getting that habit, and I think that's something that very few people take the time to do, is even like going so far as recording. Sorry, I had a call come in and put me on pause there. So recording yourself when you're interacting with others, or recording your own presentations to a group and everything, and going back and listening to them. Most people don't take the time to put themselves under a microscope like that. And you're never going to improve as fast as you can if you don't take that time to really, I mean, I'm sure that 99% of network marketers have never recorded their own 3-way phone call where they're doing a presentation or their own webinar and actually gone back and listened to it. And just doing that, listening to your own words again a second time, and realizing, oh, I could have said that more clearly. That didn't, to the new person that was listening. You just learning how your words sound, and it makes such a big difference. But anyway, so use journaling to like go back through those moments, record what you did great, record what you can do better, and then how you're going to do it different next time. And I think that makes such a huge difference. And most people think like, oh, it's fine, I'll just kind of mentally do it. But that doesn't, it just, you're not going to get the benefit that you will if you actually take the time to really go back through it. And because there's just so much growth that comes from that a lot of people just never experience.
We have a couple questions that have come through the chat, so I'll read them out loud. One of them from Abby is, based on your experience, do you think social media has changed how people will do presentations, in person or phone call versus via messaging and recorded video?
Yeah, so I guess what I would say to that is most definitely. I think that we've come to the point, and maybe we were there a long time ago, but I think that it's come to the point where I personally, this is just my opinion, there's probably a lot of people that disagree with me on this, but I think that if you're not learning how to leverage the internet to build your business, I just think you're leaving a lot on the table. And most of my network marketing background has been not using the internet at all. Like my mentor in network marketing was kind of like what a lot of people would consider to be like old school, belly to belly, one-on-one presentations, and that's how I've built most of my teams in network marketing. And so in spite of that being most of my background, I think that it's important to learn to leverage social media, to learn how to build like a landing page, email, autoresponder type of thing. To learn some basic internet marketing skills to be able to learn how to leverage the internet, because there's unlimited potential, and to be able to learn a few strategies that work and then be able to teach those to your team is the growth that's in front that is available to you if you can learn a couple of those basic things is just off the charts, and you're not limited to everybody making a list of people that they know, which is a fantastic place to start. But you oftentimes it's important to find ways of getting customers and things that go beyond that than a list of that and the internet is right there sitting for those skills. So yeah, I definitely think that's important and has changed network marketing very dramatically.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that just because I happen to have an experience from today that sort of applies to it. So I was on an elite mastermind call with about a dozen other elite coaches where they were talking about, it was actually a brainstorming call. And it was an hour and 40-minute call where we were discussing sort of how we as elite coaches can communicate and duplicate sort of what he's talking about. Most of us that were on the call started our businesses 5 or 6 years ago, and we're much more belly to belly, to use your language, right? Like I built my business through my personal Facebook profile and one-on-one conversations. And so now we're struggling with new coaches, trying to teach them how to find new people, because those older ways are kind of exactly that. They're older ways. And it was interesting because a girl that happened to be on the call is very social media savvy. She's actually part of like a Facebook like page training outside of Beachbody. And she talked about how literally Facebook has now put algorithms into place that limit your visibility if you use certain words. So certain calls to action are being they're being X'd out basically. So they will not show up in people's news feeds. Even the word mom is being taken out because of network marketers. So hearing some of that, which was interesting because they're putting no regulations, they're putting no stipulations or rules in the same regard on like pages. So it's like they're encouraging network marketers to go that route. They're encouraging network marketers to build their email campaigns and their like pages and stuff like that. So our team is right in the middle of a training right now for doing exactly that. So I feel like we're on the right path with that. So
yeah, that's awesome. It's great that you guys are looking at that, because there's a lot of people that still aren't, and I just think again it's just so important if you want to be setting yourself, your team up for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Like there's just no ignoring the internet anymore, which again is like feels stupid to say because we probably crossed that point a few years ago, but it's just as network marketers we got to get on it. Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so Tara has a question about personal development books. What are your top suggestions?
Oh, that's a great question. So I would say top suggestions, personal development books. I would say 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is just classic. Like just these are, and I think each one of these, like what I kind of determine as a good book is a book where you read it the first time and you don't feel like you even cracked the surface of what you need to get out of it. So it's a book that you have to go back and actually study, not just one that you read cover to cover and check it off your list. And I think 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is one of those that is worth really studying. There's a book called Mastery by Robert Greene that is to becoming a master at anything, it's the best blueprint I've ever read and again, it's something to be studied. Not just cover to cover, but read it and read, 15 pages and then apply the stuff that was in those 15 pages, and then read another 15 pages and apply that, and so on and so on. But if you want a blueprint to becoming a master at network marketing, just read that book and apply it to network marketing. It's just everything. It's the best that I've seen. Another great book I would say is that I like to kind of keep in my arsenal is called The Dip by Seth Godin. And it's a pretty quick read, but the best time to read that book is when you feel like you're in a dip. Because like a dip meaning like you've kind of like maybe you hit a plateau, or you're kind of in a little bit of a slump, whether that professionally, emotionally. Sometimes that's just, having a bad week or whatever. But that book, reading The Dip, is the best thing to do when you're in a dip. Because it takes you right out of that dip. It's a great little find. Trying to think if there's any other. Oh, well, I was going to say the 5 love languages. That's not necessarily personal development. It is. It's like, I think, like revolutionized the way that I look at interacting with people. So I mean, it's every relationship. It'll make every relationship in your life better. So that includes professional relationships. But yeah, 5 love languages is one of those books that when you read it, you just know that you're reading the truth. You just are like, man, this is like one of those important things that I need to figure out, that I need to apply, because this just is, it's at least a little closer glimpse at the truth of like how we're all motivated and how we have different motivations, and we end up miscommunicating with each other because we see things differently and we value things differently. And man, that's a good book. So there's a few off the top of my head. I'm sure I could keep going, but there's a few that come to mind first.
Awesome. We've got another one on here. Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek, talks about meeting people who are the top of your area of interest. How did you find and meet all of the people that you interviewed?
Good question. I'm a huge Tim Ferriss fan. I almost said 4-Hour Workweek in that list of books, but I just didn't, because I feel like it's just. But that book, that's a book that changed my life too. So how did I choose, and how did I end up meeting them? So for the most part, so the list of people that I interviewed in the book are a combination of probably about half of them are new to network marketing in the last 4 to 5 years, but they've had great growth, incredible growth, and they've skyrocketed up, and so wanting to hear those stories. And then the other half are people that have been around forever and are well-established names in the industry, like Ray Higdon and Todd Falcone and some of those guys. So I kind of tried to have a mix of both. For a lot of them, I had there's a lot of them that I honestly didn't know before writing this book. Maybe we kind of like loosely knew of each other, but we hadn't actually met in person or something like that. And so some of them I just sent them a note on Facebook and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Would you be open to talking? We jumped on the phone. On the phone, I kind of pitched them a little bit of like what it's all about and what it would require of them and what I thought the benefits that they would get out of it would be. And pretty much everybody, well, actually initially a lot of people turned me down. Some people turn you down, but the way it works when you're trying to get a group like that together is that as soon as you have one sort of A player, if you want to call it that, like somebody who's got a reputation, as soon as you have one of them that says yes, then you go back through all those people that told you no, and you say, hey, just so you know, like this guy just said yes, and this girl just said yes, so like I think this is going to be pretty solid. Are you sure you don't want to do it? And then when I went back through, they all said yes, all the ones that had said no before. So you just got to keep asking until you get one person on board, then you go back through, and then you go back through, and then you go back through, and you pretty much get everybody on board that you wanted. A couple of the more difficult ones were Ray Higdon and Mark Hoverson. And I didn't have any relationship with them before, but I actually found an event that they were both speaking at, And so I decided to go to that event purely, well, I mean, I always love going to events, but I actually went to that event to try to rope them in book. And so I went to that event and I kind of like tried to meet them, you know, cordially. And I actually like sneakily arranged for me to be seated at their dinner table at the event that night and everything. And then after that, after being able to build a little bit of rapport, I approached them both individually and was like, hey, you know, I'd love to have you participate in my book, blah, blah, blah. And they did. And then it wasn't until afterwards that I told them that that was why I was at that event, was to try to sneakily rope them into it. But they both appreciated it in hindsight, appreciated the approach. But, you know, you just got to do what you got to do, is try to put yourself in front of people, and you got to just ask. And again, even if you ask and get shot down, if you keep asking, you'll eventually get somebody, and you can use that somebody to go get, I don't like putting numbers to people, but, you know, you ask until you get a 5. And then you once you get that 5 in, you can use that to leverage getting the 4s and 3s and the 2s in. Once you have some of that, you can get a 6 in, and then you use that 6 to leverage the others. So, I mean, you know, without putting numbers to people, like, you can totally do that, and then end up with a pretty star-studded cast. And then the only other thing I would say is that my requirements for who was in the book was beyond just people that have made money in network marketing. It was people that I feel are the right types of people that I want to put, you know, in my book. The people that I think embody the principles that we're trying to convey, people that are not sharks, but are people that I think genuinely are trying to live authentically and are good people and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how the selection process went.
Cool. Okay, so I have a few questions, but I want to be really respectful of your time. So I'm going to rapid fire the questions to you, if that's okay.
I love it, and I appreciate it, but I'm good. So I got as much time as you guys got. So.
Okay. So my first question for you then is, do you meditate? We'll start with that. Do you meditate?
I do, yes. So, and again, I'm relatively new to meditating. I honestly, there's 2 things that made me do it. One was Hal reaching out to me to ask me to write this book, and I was like, all right, well, I obviously can't write the book unless I try out this Miracle Morning concept, and then I fell in love with it and started doing it. Part of that being meditating. Also, the Tim Ferriss podcast, listening to that and seeing how many of his guests that are top performers in all different areas, that they're all meditating. It just eventually was like, I'm an idiot to keep resisting this. I have to try this and see what everybody is talking about. So, new to meditating. I don't necessarily have a specific technique that I try a lot of different things. I sit in just silence. I do some guided meditations. I do this thing called holosync that I really like, which is like an auditory thing that plays certain frequencies that sort of force your brain into that meditative state using these like sound frequencies, which sounds really crazy, but there's actually some decent science to back it up. But it actually, like, when you do it, it works amazingly well. I feel like it's like training wheels for meditation, because it forces you to like a little bit deeper state, I guess, than I feel like you could maybe get to that quickly without it. So yeah, anyway, short answer, yes, I definitely am meditating and loving it, and still have a lot to learn from it, I feel like.
That's cool. Yeah, I hear you when you say that about hearing successful people. Like, there comes a point where, I mean, for me, I'm a serial podcaster, so I'm listening to podcasts all the time. And so it's like, there comes a point when you've heard like the 450th person
right
podcast say that they meditate, and you're like, dang it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's funny. Okay. So so a couple other questions real quick that I have for you is, what is your Miracle Morning look like? You mentioned that right now it's spanning 3 hours. So if you could give us a little detail on what it looks like, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. So I was just, I don't think I can pull up my calendar without like disappearing from the Zoom thing, because I'm on my phone right now. But so I'll try to do it from just memory. I have it just like written in my calendar, like a list in a row. But basically, I wake up. I take some protein, do a quick protein shake, and then right now I'm not running as much because it's 120 plus degrees in Arizona, so I'm doing more of an indoor workout. But ideally, when it's not that degree, I usually am first thing I'm running to try to get some vitamin D, to try to get some exercise, and then also to try to just wake my brain up, because I definitely am not one of these people that just wakes up ready to go. I'm a very slow riser compared to like my wife, who just wakes up and is ready to go. So I'll do some running, come back, pound some water, eat a lemon, for just, again, health benefits for both. Then not always in this order. Oh yeah, affirmations. My affirmations would actually be before the run. So that would actually be wake up, like open my phone. I have a list of affirmations in an app called Evernote, and so I use that as kind of like my my changing, but always developing list of affirmations that I'm reading. So then after my run, I usually would come back and do like a kind of a some other different things like that. Kind of a not very long, but just a short, rapid fire kind of workout to get a little bit more muscle strength rather than just the cardio from running. And then I will take my supplements, take a cold shower, which again doesn't exist here in Arizona this time of year, but when cold showers are a thing here, then I'll try to take a cold shower in the morning to kind of get started after my run and workout and everything. And then I will kind of jump on a drum set for like 10 or 15 minutes just to screw around, just to have fun, kind of play with the radio or play out of some different books that I might be working on. And then I will do like a meditation, which again, I kind of vary up what that might be, whether it's just sitting outside in silence and just kind of listening to the birds and kind of just working on mindfulness of trying to just being aware, or if I do actually a guided meditation or holosync or something like that. And then I'll read. Well, actually, as far as reading goes, what I try to do is I go back and I reread my notes from one book that I've read before. So I'm trying to keep most of my notes in Evernote. For anybody familiar with that, it's an app that you can use for like note taking. So I keep my notes of books in Evernote, or they're just underlined in the book. So I try to take 5 minutes to actually go back and review the notes from a book that I've already read. So either reviewing my underlines in a book or reviewing the actual notes that I have. Because that's the whole point, right, of us underlining and all that kind of stuff, is it doesn't do you any good unless you go back to it. So you got to go back to those great books that were worth underlining and taking notes and highlighting so that you can refresh yourself. And that's how that stuff stays in your long-term memory. So I try to take 5 minutes and go, or 5 minutes and go back and review a book, and then try to take a half hour to an hour of actually reading whatever new book I'm working on. And I usually have like 5 to 10 books open at any given time, and so I try to just like that morning I just look at my stack of books that I'm working on and I just decide which one sounds more fun to read right now. So I'm kind of like always bouncing around between different ones. And then let's see, meditation, supplements. I think that's it for the most part. I don't really do a lot of the visualization right now. I haven't really been doing a lot of the visualizations, but everything else in like the savers I've been really hitting, and then add in a few of these other things like playing music and stuff like that. I used to be doing like the foreign language thing. I would open up this app, Duolingo, to work on my Spanish for like 10 or 20 minutes every day. So I just try to like incorporate the things that I just want to be doing every day, and try to just knock those out first. And then once my morning is done, which sometimes, honestly, my miracle morning sometimes doesn't start till 10 a.m., 11 a.m., because I'm kind of a natural night owl, and I think it makes sense to embrace that. So sometimes I'm up till 2 or 3. I wake up at 10 or 11. I don't start my miracle morning till then, and I'm done by 2 p.m., and that's when I'm actually starting my day, is 2 p.m. is like, now I'm starting off my checklist of things to do that day. So whatever, I think you can make it really, truly yours, whatever works with you, your schedule, whatever. As long as I think what's important is that it's actually the first thing that you do before you allow all that other stuff, all that other chaos to take you over your inbox, your notifications, your all that other kind of stuff that'll just take over your day if you're not careful.
I love that you just said that about the night owl thing, because when I read the Miracle Morning, first I read the regular Miracle Morning book, and then I read the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers right after, because it had just come out right after I finished Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
I joined the Facebook community, like the Miracle Morning Facebook community, and I'm pretty sure like they scared me to death, because like,
totally.
people were setting their alarms for like 3:15, and I was like,
I know.
I thought I was motivated until I read this book, and now I feel like maybe I'm not. But no, I we need a spinoff called like the Miracle Midnight Hour or something.
I know, seriously. I joke with Hal about that because some of the people in the Miracle Morning community, and I think Hal also, are pretty set on mornings. I feel like I'm very strongly a natural night owl. Like it's hard. It just takes a lot of effort for me to go to bed before midnight, and it's so easy for me to throw that off. Even if I get on that schedule for a week, it just takes one little thing, and I'm back to going to bed at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or whatever. And that's just my natural routine. So I think if you're in a place where, with your business or whatever, where you can embrace that, I think it makes sense to embrace that. My mind turns on at 10 p.m. And that's where I get all this creative time period. My wife goes to bed around then, so I get like this whole night from 10 to 2 or 3 or whatever of just me being by myself, being creative. And I don't think you necessarily need to give that up. But you just got to figure out what works best with you. I don't think it matters when your morning starts, but I do think it is important that your miracle morning is your first thing. I don't think it matters what time that is, but I think it is kind of important that it's the first thing you do before you check the inboxes and before you do all the other stuff, because I think that is an important aspect of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I love that it just kind of sets the tone for your day and gets your mindset in the right zone before you. Because what we're doing at the end of the day as relationship marketers is serving people, and
right.
So if we're in the right place, if we have the right centeredness going on for ourselves, then we can better serve. So Abby, I'm going to let you come off mute. I know you keep trying. Try again.
Yes. This is more of a general network marketing question again. And I wanted to know, with all the people you interviewed and the people that you've interacted with and your teams that you've grown, if there was one aspect or thread that ties together the most successful people, if you could highlight one behavior or habit or attribute those people had, what would it be?
It's a good question. I think the only one that comes to mind, and it sounds super cliche, but the only one that comes to mind that I think that I could see really weaving between all of them is really just the idea of not giving up. Like a lot of these guys, like Jordan, I think it was Jordan Adler, his story, he's the number one earner in send out cards and has been, a hugely successful network marketer, very influential. And I think if I'm remembering his story correctly, it wasn't until 11 years in to network marketing that he actually had his first success, or maybe it was his 11th company or something like that. But I don't remember exactly the details, but I just remember it was just kept going. And I think that is, it's really cliche, but what's the other option? That's what my mentor always used to say is what's the other option? So you haven't had the success that you had. So what? Keep going or quit, right? So which one are you going to choose? And obviously quitting is never the answer. So even if you're changing direction a little bit, you're adjusting, you're maybe learning about yourself and learning what fits you best or whatever. So you might be quitting this and instead going in this direction. That's one thing. But yeah, I guess that would be the only common thread that I could think, is that they're just people that just is stuck with it.
Would you say that most of those people that you've met and talked to are willing to kind of do whatever it takes to succeed?
Yeah, of course. I think that's what really sticking with it is that I think that's what it takes to succeed, is just you keep going. And that is doing everything that it takes to succeed. That's all you can do, is just to keep going, is to just take one more step today, take one more step tomorrow, take one more step the next day. And I think that kind of is, in a lot of ways, is doing everything that you can do to succeed.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that visualization isn't something you're doing right now, but that's one if I'm struggling in, because with our type of business, we don't really do presentations. So
Sure.
I would try to like visualize, type in a really sweet hi message to people, but like that got really old and really stale, and I didn't really feel like it was helping me in any way.
Right.
This is going to be a 2-part thing. One, more suggestions on how to learn about visualization or how to expand, but also 2, you said you are fearfully authentic with people. Do you think that it is a mistake for Beachbody coaches not to do presentations the way like the oils people do it or the Mary Kay people or whatever? Like, you feel like there should be more like presentations, or do you, because we mostly are doing like one-on-one conversations, or we do like presentations when we do like our sneak peeks and stuff like that, but it's different than like get everybody in a room and pull out my slideshow.
Right. I think that to try to say that it's a mistake to not do that, I think there's only one way to know that, and that is to do it and test it. I think with marketing, I'm a pretty analytic person, so I think that it's so easy for us to jump to conclusions, and we do this all the time as marketers, and so much in network marketing. So much of network marketing is not built on there's so few people are really using data to make decisions in the network marketing world as far as what they should be doing from a marketing standpoint in terms of their presentations to their prospects and stuff like that, whatever that might look like. So I think the only way to find out if it's a mistake is to do it approximately 50 to 100 times and compare it to the results that you've gotten from not doing it, and see which way makes the most sense, in terms of the time outlay and the success that it has had for you, and try to really understand the pros and the cons of both sides of it, and what works best. It just means like you just got to go do it and try it. But I really think that's the only way to find out what marketing tools work best for your business, what marketing strategies, methods, et cetera, because they're going to be different from what network marketing and everything else. And then the other, you had a first question about visualization, but I don't actually remember exactly what the question was.
Just how to get creative with it, or how to improve on it, or because I kind of just skip it now because I don't it wasn't working.
Yeah. Well, I think just really try to think of it as a practice session. That's what visualization is to me, is a practice session. So what do you think that you need to practice? What are things that you would improve from? Like if you're a gymnast and before the competition, it's really helpful to do the vault 1,000 times before the competition, right? Because you get the practice out of the way before you're actually getting judged on it. So what are those things in your life right now that, rather than just going to the competition, which might be the actual conversation that you're having with somebody, or the actual time that you're standing up on stage at a corporate event giving your first speech, or these actual moments, what are some of those that you think would be helpful for you to actually prepare for a little bit ahead of time? Whether the things that are happening on a daily basis, or something that's not going to happen to you a month from now, or 2 months from now, or whatever it is. But what are just some things that, like, some practice would be helpful for? And I think that's really where visualization can really play a role.
I know one thing that I've done recently, I would agree that visualization is definitely an area of weakness for me. But one thing that I do think has been helpful for me is sort of at the end of the day, you were talking about it from a journaling perspective, but kind of going over, what kind of went down today, what went well, what didn't go well, and then visualizing how that conversation could have gone differently.
Right.
For me, visualizing what I can improve on then helps me actually improve on it the next time I have a similar encounter. So
totally.
That might be a great way to start, especially, that's for me, that's easier to work on than it is to like visualize myself.
Yeah.
Presenting.
And remember, like, I think it's also important to remember, like, this is your miracle morning. So sure, the book talks about the savers, and it has this nice acronym that works well together as 6 letters. But like, that doesn't mean that you're you're a crappy Miracle Morninger if you don't have visualization in your deal, right? This is just ideas for you so you may fit in visualization right now. It may feel a little awkward right now. Maybe you don't have a good fit for it. Maybe something will pop up in a couple months that'll be like the perfect fit for it, or whatever, or anything else as well. It's your Miracle Morning. The idea behind the book is just to give people ideas of what that might look like for you. Is all that matters.
Yeah, it's I love the concept of it. I think, but it is hard to apply. I think it's equally as hard to apply as something like meditation and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think network marketing typically attracts people who are kind of type A, and so the slowing down, the visualization,
right,
meditation is not necessarily natural for us.
Right. Like, I'm visualizing being done with this stupid visualization session is what I'm thinking about right now. So I can move on and make some phone calls.
That's one thing that I've incorporated into my Miracle Morning, which my Miracle Morning typically doesn't happen before 8. I'm not a morning person. But one thing that I have added into mine, thanks to my success partner's suggestion, is they have a whole boatload of like motivational videos that Les Brown does like a voiceover for on YouTube. And so she started sending me these like 3-minute videos, these motivational videos. Some of them are extremely cheesy, but for some reason it just gets you in like the right mind frame, like especially if you're going to sit down and reach out to like 15 prospects or do some follow-ups, or you're going to check in with your challenge groups or talk to your coaches. You feel like you just came out of like a quarterback's like pre-game pep talk or something. When you
right.
Like that. So
there's a way to make that your alarm clock?
There is a way?
I don't know. Is there?
Yes, there definitely are apps that allow you to take custom videos. You can plug in like a YouTube link, or you can plug in like different things that'll allow you to make a custom alarm clock. And I think that the custom alarm clock thing is a game changer if you're not somebody who just wakes up ready to go. Because I play different songs that are like motivational in some way or whatever, and usually it takes me halfway through the song before I'm like, all right, finally, all right, I'll get up. But it's not like the thing goes off, song like sinking in where I'm like, okay, fine. And that's also why I do my affirmations first, is because I'm battling my sleepy mindset. When I first get up, I feel like I'm battling that. So my affirmations are like a reminder to me of like why I'm waking up right now, why I'm doing this stupid thing. This is just like what I'm thinking in the morning, when I first get up. And then it sets, helps me to set on track. And it doesn't take much more than that to where I'm off, and then I'm loving my Miracle Morning and I'm like going through it and everything. But those first like 5 or 10 minutes can oftentimes be a little bit of an adjustment period.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up with one last question. If anybody else has anything to jump in with beforehand, I will let you. Anybody? Okay, because I know our calls are typically shorter, but we of course want to maximize our time with you. So I appreciate you guys all sticking on here. But my last question, I think, is just obviously you've had exposure to network marketing in your own personal experience. And that's obviously why you were reached out to write the book, not necessarily because you were a great Miracle Morning person, but
right.
You have a network marketing background. And so through writing the book, you established connections with other successful network marketers and that kind of thing. This particular call is our total team call. So there's going to be a lot of people watching the recording. We have anywhere from new coaches to full-time network marketers on these calls. And so what I want to do is I want to just ask you to just give us a moment of sort of your insight and your, insight as to the potential that we actually have with network marketing and why it's important to have that right frame of mind in the morning because of what it is we're doing. I'd love to just hear your take on network marketing and why you believe in it. Because I'm a believer.
Absolutely. So I would say I think it's actually a really exciting time right now for network marketing. And honestly, and I say this, and you just have to trust me that I don't actually say this to every team call that I'm on or whatever. Is that I actually think that you guys are really well positioned with Beachbody with the time that we are in with network marketing, because network marketing as a business model is really in a transition phase right now with what happened to Vima earlier this year. For anybody who follows that, and the shockwaves that is sending throughout the network marketing world is forcing network marketing companies to do something that I think is a very good thing. I'm totally against the FTC stepping in with Vima in the way that they did, but I totally am for everything that they are pushing for network marketing to be is so much more customer centric. And I think that is largely something that has held network marketing back from being so much more mainstream, is it becomes this very like small world. We all call it the network marketing industry. It's not an industry, it's a business model, but it's kind of become the network marketing industry because it's kind of its own little small world because of these weird things about the business model that are kind of this, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but it's kind of like not very customer centric. It's very much about getting distributors, you get distributors, you get distributors, you get distributors, and possibly too much focused on that aspect of it instead of actually just delivering a great product or service to customers that are not actually interested in the business. And now a lot of companies are being forced to go more that customer route and embrace that. And P90X, I mean, there's who knows how many thousands of customers of P90X that never knew that it was a network marketing company when they bought it. And that's really exactly how a customer experience ought to be, is that you're just buying a great product or service from a great company, however that happens. So anyway, I think that because of these changes in network marketing, I think that there's an opportunity for network marketing to be so much bigger than it is today, like 5 or 10 years from now, and to really embrace customer acquisition and to tweak our business models and our compensation plans to embrace customer acquisition. And again, I just say I say that all because I think that you guys are with a company that's kind of been doing that already for a while now, and has really been ahead of the curve on a lot of that stuff. So I just think it's a real opportunity, far more mainstream, and to finally get rid of this like little connotation that it has of one of those pyramid things. And it kind of has that connotation because it kind of has been one of those pyramid things, because it's always about recruiting. It's always about recruiting, recruit, and we've kind of forgotten the customer as a whole as a network marketing world. And the pendulum is definitely swinging the other way. And I think that there's a lot of companies that are going to hurt very badly from that. And there's a lot of companies that are just going to explode because of it. And I think that's just an exciting time right now. And again, you guys are in a great spot with Beachbody as far as that goes. So it's just a matter of just getting out there and cranking. But yeah, you guys are in a great spot to take advantage.
Yeah, I didn't even pay him to say that. I promise.
Yeah, that's just a lot of times when I jump on calls and I talk about some of this stuff, I'm like, I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes in opposition of what you guys are talking about on your calls. I might be really squashing toes or battling philosophies right now, but that's just the honest truth as I see it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And actually, I don't want to take up too much time, but that made me think of something that I wanted to share. And since I know I've got my crew on here who they've stuck with us now for an hour and 10 minutes, I think I'm going to take just another minute to just read to you guys what our vice president posted in the Elite Wall while I was on vacation last week. So I'm sitting on the beach last week, and this coach, who's an elite coach, posts in the wall, which Beachbody people know as 5-star coaches and above. She posted in the wall and said, in a very polite and respectful way, she mentioned that she's been seeing a decrease in volume, and she's been seeing sort of some issues in her coaches hitting Success Club and hitting certain benchmarks the last 2 to 3 months. So she was trying to be proactive about it, and she was asking the wall, she was asking 5 stars and above, is anybody else having this issue? And if you are, would you be open to brainstorming what it is we can do differently? Which I love that approach, because it's obviously showing her coachability and her perspective. And so what's interesting is that our vice president, who I love, Jeff Hill, which, obviously you've got to love sort of the people behind Beachbody. I mean, I don't care people, unrelated, how, if they were to meet them, I feel like if you were to meet Jeff Hill or Carl Deichler, you'd be just totally in love with them. But Jeff posted this in response to her, and I wanted to read it to you guys. I was actually going to live stream it in the team page, but I think it goes along with what Pat was just saying. So he said, there are a number of posts that this could be added to on reasons for lower volume, but I'll share my observations and a solution. As Andrea pointed out, there's a shifting puzzle that we need to figure out and execute against. We can discuss products, seasonality, timing, systems, Facebook, recognition, rewards, and other legitimate topics as contributing causes, all real and need to be considered. It's like a stew with lots of ingredients. We are considering all of these and the role they play and how to course correct. I believe there's a bigger issue at play that we need to address. Wait for it. I may not say this as in a way that's completely or articulate as I like, but you'll get the drift and perhaps beg to differ. As we track the business, cancels, lower retention, average length of stay, number of challenge packs being sold to coaches versus customers, shared anecdotal experiences, number of what appears to be discount coaches, treating people like a coach when they really just want to be a customer, understanding the evolving challenge group focus, the emphasis on Success Club versus truly helping people, and more. It's clear that there has been a shift in focus, and we are experiencing some of the unintended consequences of that shift. The growing trend has been to focus more on coach acquisition to support the business, rank advancement, and bonus pool qualification than to create a fitness results-oriented environment. For example, challenge groups, where people come in as customers who want the environment and support to get results, who become enthusiasts and advocates, and then some become productive coaches because of the belief they have developed because of their experience with the products. Those who choose not to become coaches stayed longer as loyal customers because they found value in the products. And yes, some came in because of the business too, which is great. Yet that subtle shift on coach acquisition is having its impact on our business. And unless we course correct, in all caps, unless we course correct, which is very doable, fixing all the other stuff won't matter because we will have altered the DNA and the culture of our business as we will have become a money deal like all the others that burn and churn. So he continues to go on, and it's a lot longer than what I'm reading to you, but basically he says, stop focusing on signing people as coaches and instead focus on getting people results.
Yep.
They will become organic, natural born leaders, which I think is awesome. So the whole thing that he writes ends with, the good news is this is in our DNA. It's at our core. It will take some effort, but the work will be worth it. And he literally got probably every elite coach in the wall supporting that statement. So it's awesome, I think, that we have that sort of perspective. And I think it lines up perfectly with what you just said. If we can focus on and get them what they're looking for, then our success comes as a result of that.
No doubt. I had not heard that letter before, and I love that. It's easy to feel like the shortcut is for using like Beachbody terminology. The shortcut is coaches. I need more coaches. Like that's how I'm going to rank advance faster and everything. And it feels that way, but it's not that way. The shortcut, oftentimes the hardest route, is actually the shortcut to the top, because the people that get all the way, the people that even can move quickly towards the top of the comp plan, but they do it with all coaches, I guarantee you they're gone in a year. The whole thing fizzles, because it has to be filled in with customers, and you have to have way more customers than you have coaches in your team, or else you've got a team that's not going to be around for that. Every business's function is to acquire and retain customers. That is the function of a business. And your coaches help you to leverage more customers, but that's only if you guys are actually focusing on customers. But every business, doesn't matter network marketing or non, it has to be built around customer acquisition. And network marketing as a whole has kind of forgotten that, and we're suffering the consequences of that now. But for the teams that embrace that customer acquisition, I think that they're the ones that are going to dominate the future of network marketing.
Right, and that's kind of what we're up against. That's why a lot of us spend too much of our energy worrying about sort of what happens when people jump on board with a different company or a different product or something like that. Of course, that's always sort of a common conversation topic, but the bottom line is you have to trust who you are at your core and who the company is at its core, and trust that you got on board with the right company, and that you have the customer in mind. So that's our true north, I guess you could say.
Absolutely.
So, well, Pat, I totally appreciate you spending time with us on our call tonight. This was awesome, and thanks.
Likewise.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for letting me interact with your team here, and happy to do it again sometime down the road. Just shoot me a note. But I love that people are getting benefits out of the Miracle Morning, and keep sharing the message. Again, if you're new, check it out, tmm4networkmarketers.com. You can get 2 free chapters there. But Jenny, thank you so much. I love it.
Awesome. Is there a preferred venue for purchase for you, or does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. Amazon or Audible if you prefer the audiobook. But yeah, either way.
Okay, awesome. So if you guys have not read it, make it a priority to put it at the top of your list. I know it's something we talk about often on our team, but thanks again to Pat. Thank you guys for being on here. I'll have the recording uploaded tomorrow morning. Have a great night, you guys. I'll see you next week.